Last week, my friends, the gospel talked about seeds and planting. And this week, the gospel speaks about weeds. It's a lot easier to plant than to weed, isn't it, my friends? When weeding, the best way to make sure you're removing a weed and not a valuable plant is to gently pull on it. If it comes out of the ground easily, it's what? It's a plant. Yeah, it's a plant. That's what makes weeding so tough, isn't it, my friends? I read some articles this week on the agriculture about weeds and things like that. I know, my friends, I seriously need to get a life, but you know, this one article was so appropriate. It was called The Hula Bowl of Herbicides. And it's a scenario that in the academic world, agriculture students from all over across the United States and different universities came together and they competed to identify weeds that prescribed the right chemicals to kill them. They said the key to this whole thing is to be able to identify a weed when it is small. They said that's the key to that. They said because when the weeds get big enough that you recognize that it's a weed, the chemical is not nearly as effective. And you know, that's so appropriate for us, my friends. Addictions, whether it be alcohol, drugs, gambling, or sexual things, always start small, don't they? Always start small. And then they grow and grow and grow. Just like negative attitudes, my friends, or bitterness, or resentments, or anger. All those things start very small. And if we don't try to weed them out, they continue to grow and grow and grow. Same with relationships, my friends. I often wonder if marriages would address their little weeds earlier on, a lot less divorces would probably take place. But you see, we don't want to weed because it takes a lot of effort and work. But to have a successful life, my friends, we must weed. Get those out of our lives, right? Out of our lives, or at least attempt. The other thing that needs to be done with weeds is right choices. There was Eric Feldman, took the day off with his 2 boys and went out fishing. And they had like a smaller boat with a nice little engine on it. And he was backing up and putting through the dock area. And he forgot to unhook the part of the trailer from the boat. And it was just backing up. The whole thing dumped over and into the water. His boys and he jumped out of the car. And when he jumped out of the car, he accidentally hit the electric lock. And he locked his keys in the still running car. He stood there, watched his boat fill up with water, all the food that his wife had packed for him start floating away, and all the bait. And he was ready to explode. And his little kindergarten boy, and this is a true story, looked up to his dad and said to his dad in this little boy voice, "Dad, what would Jesus do?" He said that was the last thing he wanted to hear. He said he walked around the car and then walked about 50 yards to compose himself and came back. And he said the back window of his SUV was cracked a few inches, and he was able to somehow snaggle in there and unlock the door and turn off the engine. Then he and his boys unhooked the trailer, was able to get the water out of the boat. No food, that was all washed away, all soggy. All the bait except for 3 little minnows were on the bottom of the boat. And he says to his boys, "Do you still want to go out fishing?" And they said yes. With those 3 minnows, and the dad went off, 2 of those minnows, each one of the boys caught the biggest basses that they've ever caught before. They came home, and after that wonderful day, he was getting ready for bed, and he was sitting in his chair, and he thought to himself, you know, what an amazing day that he had. and how it could have been ruined if he let his anger get the best of him. And he said, you know, that one choice and hearing that voice of his son made a difference in his whole day. And I thought, you know what, my friends? It can make the difference in our lives too. That one little choice, that one little choice, that one little pulling that weed out can make a huge difference in our attitudes and our lives. So this week, my friends, as the gospel says, it is well worth it to try to pull those weeds out of our life. God bless you.